I'm Greg Jenkins. I'm head of product at Findmypast. I've been with the company for about 3 years. I originally come from a telco background, so I used to work in telco, running e-commerce teams and loyalty platforms. I work with Findmypast, which is a family genealogy site, and with a vision to connect people to their past. We've got billions of records dating back as far as 15,000. And they've got so much history tucked away into them and stories that we're building technology to surface them for people to really discover their past and where they're from. We're part of Findmypast's goal was to move away from just selling records, being just a one-off transaction where you come in, you buy a record, and then you head off again. And we wanted to shift the way we model ourselves away from just being that transactional site to actually building a service, but actually moving to more of an experience. Where subscription comes in is to build that value behind our service. We do more than just provide you the record. What we actually do is we do a lot of the legwork in the background. We've got a lot of great technology to surface that information up. And it's more than just doing that one-off transaction with us. We want to grow that story with you, and we've been a part of it. And that's what subscriptions is about. It's about building value behind the paywall, and building that relationship with the customer. And that's what enables us to do it. And what we're trying to do is build that ongoing value that you can put behind those stories, so that people actually see what they're getting from it. It kind of gives us a bit more focus on what matters. Whereas what you get much from a transactional one-off transaction business is you have a one-off relationship, kind of retail slightly, where you go in, you buy a top, they walk out the store again. With a subscription, actually once they're in, the biggest part is that retention bit. The biggest part is you're subscribing, and part of the subscription is building up everything that you build on, everything that our product teams are working on, is building the value behind these customers that are investing in it, and we're trying to give them that value that they expect from us. And the subscription model kind of drives that thought process and drives that business model across the whole business. Away from that, they're just here to buy a record. Actually, no, we're here to really build them and get them to that end goal and get them to that lifetime value that they can deliver to us. The question of whether to build or buy, I think when I drew it out, this is probably towards the end of the process. So I think I've spoken very much about the idea that you start with the problems that you have. When you get right to the end, you got all the customer problems and you know why you wanted it. You're looking for the solution. Right at the end, you get to that point where you kind of go, right, what do we do now? Do we rebuy? Do we build something ourselves again? Do we build on what we've got? Or do we go for something different? I think that what closed it off for us is I drew a diagram, much of a draw, and I drew a diagram and all the elements that are involved in it. And when you start doing that and you start looking at different infrastructure that you need around compliance, partner management, so the different payment gateways you have, security, PSI compliance, have we got that kind of resource that understands it, that knows it? Do we have the ability to quickly flex up when there's new compliance changes? Who's going to be reading up on compliance changes required? Who's going to be looking at the different way that you can move card payments and being able to update card payments? There's a whole element, and how do you then also provide the elasticity behind it? So for example, new technology, open banking comes along. Oh, guess what? We're going to have someone who specializes in that, and we're going to have to recruit them. Very quickly, in one slide, you kind of say there's a huge gap. So it's not just about whether we buy it or not now, it's actually do we resource an entire new department who's going to be able to deliver this for us? And that kind of quickly answers the question, kind of, actually no thanks, we'd rather resource an entire development to build out some new functionality that solves another area that we want to focus on. So that was closed down quite quickly, because it wasn't just a case of using our engineering team that we had that was building it to rebuild it. It's actually, if we want to do it right, there's an entire infrastructure that we need to get there. And the likes of Recurly, when you go down to it, their infrastructure's there. You know, there is that. There is the partnership managers who have the relationship with the payment gateways. That's already there. We don't need to worry about that. There's, we get sent the updates about compliance changes that are happening. What do we need to about? Don't worry, we've got it undercover. And that's exactly what we need. And that was part of the decision to go that route as well. And I guess the same way, I always use the analogy of cars. Yeah, so you have two choices. You can buy yourself your car and go down and have it serviced by the dealership and get it all sorted, or you can buy yourself a kit car or a car from scratch and try to build it yourself. But you're gonna need to learn how to be an engineer, a mechanic, learn about engines, and if you've got the time and resource to do that and you really want to do that, great on you. But that's a very small majority of people who'll probably really want to go down that route. Where we've seen the biggest benefit, I guess, for our customer is anything to do with changing the type of subscription I'm on now. And that came from anything from, as I mentioned, from the free trial, going for an upgrade, downgrading, being able to change, being able to, we launched the 1921 census, which wasn't within the subscription. So that was an additional add-on. I mean, gosh, being able to have built that without Recurly would have been a utter nightmare. The logic of having a subscription, but then also appending another, everything from that one-click purchase is now possible. So the customer being able to be part of the subscription and going, I want this record, this looks really interesting, and within a click, they've got it. We're not asking them to re-put a payment, which we used to for credits. You used to have to put another card payment, another payment. We didn't have wallet, we didn't have. So actually that one-click payment was something that didn't exist. And actually what we thought might have been a huge friction of introducing 1921 census as an additional add-on, where we're like, oh, they're gonna have to re-put the card details in, it's gonna be friction, that's gonna impact the customer's journey. Wasn't, and actually was hugely successful, and we managed to introduce an entire new business model on top of it as an add-on with just a click for the customer. So what looked really big and technical for us as a big challenge in the background, for the customer was like a click. And I think that's where that kind of difference was really huge. For us, and I think a year ago, 2 years ago, without Recurly, our customer center would have been absolutely pummeled with these calls coming in going, I've tried to pay for this, it's not working, or I've put in a card detail in to do this, and some reason my subscription's stopped, but I've now got this record. How do I, and it was just that confusion, because we didn't have the elasticity to be able to go, let's add an add-on. Because if we did that, something would break down the chain, and we were able to do that. It gave us more flexibility, which is complex for us immensely to kind of put it around the back of our head going, right, this person's got a subscription, and we're going to add on to it as a new, you can only see this record view, then becomes yours. The complexity is really, but actually the benefit is on the front side. For the customer, it's even simpler. And I think that's the win there, is, though it seems complex from what we're talking about, and by complex I mean from the customer point of view, it's that golden thing, you know, the Apple thing. Try how simple can you make it? The biggest difficulty is how simple can you make it, and that's what we're trying to achieve with it. It's a huge thing. We've got a national press survey. You know, we've got huge audiences. Our volumes were skyrocketing, and it's got to be simple. You don't want people calling in heaves, kind of going, I don't understand, or how do I do this? And we didn't, and that was a success of that story. What Recurly's added to our overall structure is provided a separation between some of our other core stack areas. So what we used to have, and it's quite funny, when we started this project, I named it the heart transplant. Yeah, and the reason why is because everything was built into one database, and so everything from payments to whether you'd seen the record that you bought from us, or and what royalty we were paying out at the back of it is all built into this big stack. And so then we had to overlay on top of that the idea that there was a subscription. So have you made that payment? And so part of this is saying this is going to be a heart transplant. we're going to pull this out and we're going to put a new platform, which is not going to be built into it. But what it's going to do is going to be able to orchestrate it. And it's removed that entire complex heart that we used to have at the center of our business to suddenly into something that's become a much more elasticated. It's enabled us to turn around and say, actually, we're gonna introduce a new subscription because there's a new opportunity here, without impacting the rest of the stack, without impacting the fulfillment, because it automatically recognizes it's a new subscription, it's got a new ID, and it does that. And whereas before everything was hard coded in. And I think it's not necessarily completed. What it's done is enabled us to do more around the outside of it. We've got something which a gateway which we've got between our other products, and it really does allow just that flexibility for us to do it. So now anything we do around our subscriptions, whether it's introduce some new functionality like ramp, which is something we're looking at the moment, I don't have to worry too much about downstream. events because I know it all comes through in the same way. So I can suddenly flip up a new type of subscription, flip up a new model, and it'll pass through successfully because everything else has been separation of concerns. Yeah, it started to provide the ability to do that for us, and I think that's where that's where the benefit is for us hugely. It's just removing that kind of dependency of saying, if we pull this out, I mean, it was like a pickup sticks, and that's what it used to be. It used to be kind of go, I need that stick there. And as you pulled it, everything moved and you're like, no. And so it's really done that. It's allowed us to kind of have something where the sticks are aligned nicely, and I'll take this up, that's fine. It's still aligned nicely. And it's just given us that flexibility, and also we don't have to worry about it too much. If something, there's in the rare occasion, if something we're not sure about, we pick up the call and it's there and it's fixed, and we don't have to worry about taking the entire design team or engineering team to fix it. We're looking forward to what next can we do. We're in a place where at the moment where everything's changing, constantly changing. The economy, the available funds people have to be able to buy subscriptions, and you have to rapidly be able to change and accommodate. We've been through pandemic, going through a cost economy, going through different types of payments. We're coming to open banking, we're coming to card payments, coming to PayPal, Apple Pay. It's constantly changing, and you need the flexibility to have the time to look ahead, to have the time to look what the markets are doing, look what the future's holding, look at where you want to go as a business, rather than spending all your time going, how do we fix what's there now, and how do we optimize what actually. It's given a lot more time now, where we're actually spending a lot more time kind of going, this is what we want to do, without panicking, going, oh, we can't do that, it's going to take months. Can you imagine the game of dominoes there? So yeah, you do have a lot more flexibility around that. Creating a business case as to why you should really invest in a new platform. There's what was critical for me was to make sure that actually we approached it from a customer problem first, and where we spent our time a lot was we're starting to build out different pockets across the business where we knew there was customer friction, and whether that be, for example, I mentioned the upgrading, the free trialing, people having to break the subscription and cancel and delete it through CS to reinstall it. All these stories you kind of heard down the way, and what we wanted to do is build up, just document them all. And we kind of built out pockets of themes within there. So for example, free trial experience or in-life experience or billing experiences, and just kind of pocket them up. And we started doing interviews, both a lot of time with the CS team, customer support team, just kind of understanding where the problems were, what people were complaining about. They did a great effort of tagging all the calls that were coming in, so we could really try to track down what problems they're having and issues. We had about 105, 107 problems, but actually what made the case really good is actually 80% of those were customer problems, and actually there are frictions which we had in our platform, which we were kind of oblivious to, well, we knew about, but because our focus wasn't in that kind of space, in the subscription space. We're really focused on building an acquisition flow, building up a product that sustains itself, but the subscription was kind of second. And as part of the experience, we wanted to try to remove that friction. And so we built out these themes. As I mentioned, we came with these 69 ones, which are really quite powerful ones, which resonated. It's kind of ones where you can sit in a boardroom and you tell the story, and people across the room are like, oh, those are the ones which are really powerful. And so we created them. And I think in every single one of those themes, we probably had one of those where we brought up to kind of say that this is the existing experience today. And to kind of explain, this is not just a technical problem. This is actually something that our customers are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, and that our CS team are having to deal with, which off a platform shouldn't happen nowadays. If you use a company like Recurly that does something, this shouldn't happen. These are past problems that don't happen. So we did lots of research around there. We didn't have as much data as we wanted to, because obviously this is a product that we built. It'd been stacked over years. The insight wasn't as well, so we had to use raw data. So going into our payment providers and exporting CSV files to kind of see what the failure rates were and see what the cards were, and put them onto an Excel spreadsheet and build up pivot tables, and so there's quite a lot of effort around that to kind of build out the business case behind. And then of course we had some journeys as well, where we started to look around the subscription journeys, look at where people were dropping off, and starting to put surveys around those places as to why were you leaving, or and each one had a different theme and a different context behind it. And then it enabled us to kind of come back to the board and really kind of say, this is where the value is going to come from. Yes, there is some revenue return, brilliant, that's the benefit, but actually it's more to do with the problems that we're currently giving our customers as they come through. And I think that was a powerful nugget that we took through, and it made the whole process much easier, and also gave something to give to our engineers. Which is great, because by the time we got to the engineers and we said, right, these are the things we're solving. What we're not solving is the bad code. What we're not solving is the code of someone who built something but they're not with the company anymore. What we're not solving is a technology stack problem that we have. What we're solving is these real life problems that our customers are experiencing. Because if we remove those customers, they're actually going to achieve what they've come here to do much better, and the success rate will go up. And that has a knock-on impact. That's where you're knocking impact on your monthly recurring revenue, and so that kind of sells itself after that. So out of the 69 problems we had, we solved. It's been a year almost that we've been there, and we've solved 58 of those problems. And the other ones are more to do. Actually, the remaining ones that we had are more to do with things. For example, there's new payment providers we want to start to work with to identify. For example, our mobile usage has grown from 48% to almost 65%, and those are the kind of problems that we want to work with. It's not necessarily that we haven't, there's contracts to build, there's the right payment provider to work with, and those are things we're starting to work with. But the other ones were the critical ones, which are really fun, and I think that's something that we've now solved with those 58 issues. We had a system that didn't really provide any reasoning or any kind of trying to find the word, but it wasn't a seamless experience. So I'll use the analogy of cars again. So the analogy of a car is when you're driving along and you get that engine light that comes up, and you have no inkling to what it is. The immediate thing that comes to your head is, wow, money. It's going to cost me. And you think, I have no idea how much it costs. I have no idea what the problem is. I have no idea. But actually, the technology exists there to be able to tell you. That they can give you an indication from that. They would be able to surface, for example, it's a sensor. Chances are it might cost you about 60 quid. But we'll need you in to come and investigate. Or they don't. They just shove up a red light, and you look in the book and it says that there's an engine problem. And you're like, oh my gosh, a new engine, or you have no indication. And that's similar to how the dunning management works for us. It's really to be able to turn around and say, we used to have the system where it just go, you've not paid. Which suddenly brings up anxiety in the customers. It's going, you've not paid. Well, why? What's going on? And it brings up an anxiety and really brings up a negative connotation for that company. So now being able to go, by the way, your card's expired. It's a simple process. All you need to do is just click this button, go in, and you can update your card. Or better still, card updater. It's been done. You didn't have to do anything. We've updated the card because we know you've been sent a new card by the bank. It's automatically been related to the bank. We've got that information. So everything is communicated to the company, to the customer with a call to action. Do this, and none of that was there. And so we've gone. So that small change has driven a 6% improvement in that recovery rate off the back of a dunning. 6% is not as big as some of the numbers you might have thought, but actually 6% is huge for us because the recovery rate came in much before they even now fail. The expiry comes before they even default. The upgrade card update happens before they even default. So that 6% is just the remaining people who we've not been able to capture behind. So that's compounded. And we've recently done an experiment actually just to start to play around with how long that dunning process should be. And over the last couple of months, I think we've grown it by another 5% recovery rate. When we talk about the benefit we've got, I guess, from a platform like Recurly, having put it in, there's number one is you look at the customer benefits that we return. And we've spoken about the 58 customer problems we solved out of the 59. And as you start to go down all the things that you benefit from, you get to that wonderful bottom line of, how's the investment that we've invested in, has that been paid back off? And I think for our business, we had a platform that really wasn't giving us the experience that we wanted to. We had all these problems that were being encountered by our customers, and so there was an awesome opportunity that we saw at the end of it. Once we'd addressed all these problems, and we kind of reflected back on what's been achieved. Dropping our failure rate by 12%, dunning improvement by now almost 11%. The benefit of the back is, we've seen almost 500% return of investment And that's a large part just for quite how tough and challenging things were as well. But now also the fact that we have that flexibility to be able to do things quite easily. And it's really given us that flexibility to expand and contract different options and opportunities for our business.